Mike Tyson is a monster. Some would even call him a beast.
Tyson has won Brazilian Masters. Here's a combination uppercut by Tyson. Tyson laying it on, pouring it on. Down goes Bruno into the ropes.
One that would devour you from head to toe.
Danger. Oh, there it is, right hand to the head, and Etienne's down.
But did you know that Mike Tyson already had his fighting spirit, even when he was in prison? Yes, it's true. Some old footage of Tyson fighting during his time behind bars has recently been leaked, and people can't stop talking about it. It's amazing to see how he stayed sharp even in such a tough place. But why was Tyson in prison in the first place? It all started with a serious accusation. Tyson was charged with raping an 18-year-old beauty pageant contestant named Desiree Washington. After a trial, an Indiana jury found him guilty. It was a shocking moment for the world because Tyson was such a big star at the time. Tyson was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but 4 years of that sentence were suspended. He was then sent to the Indiana Youth Center after his conviction. This prison was built in the 1960s and was originally meant for young, non-violent offenders from wealthy white families. It wasn't a super strict prison, and it focused more on helping young people turn their lives around. But by 1992, things had changed. The prison system in Indiana became overcrowded, so they started sending adult prisoners to the youth center. Most of these were people convicted of crimes related to drugs or sex offenses. This turned the place into something very different from what it was meant to be. When Tyson arrived at the Indiana Youth Center, things had gotten even tougher. They had started sending people convicted of murder and other violent crimes there too. The prison held about 1,500 inmates at the time, and most of them, over 95%, were white. This made Tyson stand out even more in such an environment. Tyson lived in a two-man room that was different from regular jail cells. Instead of bars, the room had a strong door with a small window. Inside, the setup was simple. To the left, there were 2 bunk beds, a toilet, and a cabinet where inmates could keep their belongings. It wasn't much, but it gave him some privacy compared to traditional cells. On the right side of the room, there was a desk. Inmates could use it to study or write, and Tyson had access to this space too. Even though the conditions weren't luxurious, it was still a place where he could focus and reflect on his life during his time there. With this setup, could Tyson have ended up fighting someone inside the prison? The answer is a clear yes. Being surrounded by violent offenders in a challenging environment made it almost inevitable for tempers to flare and conflicts to arise. While in jail, Tyson faced attacks from other prisoners, but he wasn't scared. Instead of begging for mercy in a place filled with dangerous people, he seemed almost eager to take them on. It was as if he had prepared himself for situations like this. Tyson's fearless attitude set him apart even in the harsh environment of prison. In an interview after his release, Tyson hinted that he had been ready for anything while he was locked up. He admitted to carrying a weapon in prison, showing just how serious he was about defending himself. "They may have strength in numbers," he said, "but they didn't have anything I didn't have." Tyson was no stranger to the tricks some inmates tried to pull. He understood their tactics and didn't let them mess with his mind. According to Tyson, the key was to stay strong and not let their games get into your head. He believed staying focused was the best way to handle these situations. But Tyson wasn't the kind of person to just ignore things. He didn't let these tricks slide without doing something about it. Whether it was standing his ground or finding a way to deal with the troublemakers, Tyson always made sure he was in control. They start by saying something funny, something sarcastic, to see how far they can go. But you nip it in the bud. You don't let anyone get away with saying anything funny or sarcastic. When times get hard, giving up or running away is not the answer. Tyson believes that standing your ground and showing strength is the best way to handle challenges. Tyson said that it's important to assert yourself and prove your superiority when faced with difficulties. If you don't stand up for yourself, things could turn out badly. He learned this lesson not just in the ring, but also in his life outside of boxing, including his time in prison. You have to demonstrate who you are right on the spot. That's what I do. That's who I am. I'm a settler. I'm in my glory in a place like that. Chaos all over. Yeah, they tried me a few times, Tyson continued. He showed everyone in prison that he wasn't afraid of anything or anyone. His fearless attitude made it clear that he was not someone to mess with. In fact, you could probably imagine other inmates feeling nervous or scared around him, knowing what he was capable of. It must have been something to see the confidence of others disappear when Tyson made his presence known. He didn't need to say much, just his reputation and the way he carried himself were enough to show he was in charge. Tyson wasn't about to let anyone push him around. The legend shared that fighting wasn't unusual in prison, but he also talked about the dirty system that was happening there. He said he had seen it all, the good and the bad. But, according to him, the bad things stood out the most. He explained that some of the things he saw were hard to believe. There were actions and behaviors that no one would ever imagine doing. He said some of these things were just awful, showing how tough life inside the prison could be. His first fight after getting out of prison was against Peter McNeely. Everyone was excited, and the event was called "He's Back!" Fans couldn't wait to see Tyson in the ring again, and the fight became a huge success. It made over $96 million all around the world. The match itself didn't last long at all. In just 89 seconds, Tyson showed everyone he was still a force to be reckoned with. He came out strong, and McNeely couldn't handle the power Tyson brought into the ring. The fight ended in a surprising way. McNeely's manager jumped into the ring to stop the fight because he didn't want McNeely to get hurt anymore. Tyson was declared the winner by disqualification, and it proved that the boxing world hadn't seen the last of Mike Tyson. Recently, footage of Mike Tyson fighting in prison was made public. In the video, Tyson was extremely aggressive. He fought so hard that it looked like he almost seriously hurt the person he was fighting. It might have just felt like another fight, something he was used to. But for the person on the other side, it must have been terrifying. Tyson's power and anger were on full display. Watching the video, you can see how intense Tyson's fighting style was, even in prison. It shows how dangerous he could be when he was in the ring, or even in a place like that with everything on the line. The footage has become very popular after it was leaked. People are still amazed by Tyson's skill and power during his prime years. Fans can't stop talking about how strong and quick he was in his fights. Even though Tyson hasn't said anything about the footage yet, it still shows something about Tyson's legendary status. It shows that even with the passing of time, his talent and impact remain unforgettable. So, what are your thoughts on this? Please let me know down below